Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. And as you can tell, I am not in my office. I am in Tampa, Florida at the hotel floor.
Yes.
Yeah. Hotel floor. And I'm with these two lovely ladies this is Hailey and Amy, and they are with Crêpes Latte, and they just sponsored my keynote presentation at the Healthcare Convention and Exhibitors Association annual meeting. And I just wanted to, I'm really intrigued by, and they're with Crêpes Latte, CEO and Director of Sales.
Account executive.
And I wanted to introduce you to them and talk to them about, healthcare meetings and trade shows and how they manage food and beverage for their clients in trade show booths. Because if you're a healthcare client, you also know that it's really challenging with some of the amount of food you're allowed to spend on clients. But I wanted to introduce you to them and talk about how they help companies create food and beverage experiences that meet their brand identity.
Yeah. I know. Well, one, thank you for inviting us.
You're welcome. Thank you for sponsoring me.
Your talk was wonderful, and while we didn't plan to be also together,
we're in Florida.
We're in Florida, and you made a big impact on the group dynamics there, and to be the front speaker of the day, and to have the topic be food and beverage.
Yeah.
As a key message was quite the position for all of us to be in. But it says it really makes an impact, and it is memorable when done well and when done poorly.
Oh, it does both. It does both. And if it's mediocre, it's probably still done poorly.
Right.
Thought of poorly.
Yeah. But making those memorable impacts with brands is a niche of a business that we find ourselves in. So our background is trade shows and events, food and beverage, and the relationships that we have working with large brands to bring their experience in a very scalable way all over the country.
That's amazing.
Uniquely, we have a lot of healthcare clients. We do have others outside of healthcare that are also trying to make an impression on their customer, perhaps when they don't have a product to sell, but they want to make a connection. And so food really transcends all cultures, all demographics, all destinations. Food is a connector of people.
Yeah.
And so we can continually be more thoughtful in those ways. And so your talk today even brought in more depth of details that perhaps others haven't thought of.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And so Crêpes Latte, you're not a catering company per se, or do you consider yourself a catering company, or do you consider yourself, tell everybody what you do?
Yeah. We kind of coined that phrase, experiential hospitality.
Okay.
Yes, we are in food and beverage, and yes, we are a caterer. Specifically, we focus on the trade show audiences and elevating that experience. So above and beyond your traditional concession type menus, that our menu and our offerings differentiate from anything else on the show floor. So about 50% of our business is cappuccino. So we have lots of equipment. And then we also do lots of savory food and sweet food, mostly all small bites. So that, 2 to 3 bites is a taste. It's not a meal. It's a takeaway from concessions. And then when done really well, it ties back to the customer's brand. And so that it's a thoughtful selection based on their campaign, based on the region of the show, or based on their audience, that it makes a connection. And sometimes it's just really tasty, but those connections, are really fun to work within.
Yeah.
And some of the audiences that we support are very specific, whether it's healthcare needs or their patient profile, or what have you.
Well, and one of the things that I brought up today was I showed my video from my friend Erica Dermer from Celiac and the Beast, who typically goes to healthcare conferences with celiac disease and can't eat. But so it's challenging, but how do you address, and we talked about this a little bit when we chatted, was that last week? Last week. How do you work with your clients to address maybe their guests or their attendees or their staff's dietary needs when you're designing these things? And I wish I had pictures of, maybe I can find them, so I can show some of the examples of what you all do. But Amy, you want to address that?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. In the trade show booth environment, we are limited to a 8-foot, 6-foot counter space. So we do what we can with the space that we have. But certainly, in the cappuccino service that we have, which Hailey mentioned is most of what we do, we always have alternative milks available. We always make sure that everything is clearly labeled. So our frothing pitchers are always separate. So
Okay.
the dairy, the oat, the almond, the soy all have their dedicated and labeled pitchers to make sure that there's no cross-contamination there. And certainly with the food item that we're providing, one of the great things about our service is that it is made to order.
Okay.
So for example, I'll use avocado toast. So avocado toast, of course, has toast in it, but I've worked that service personally. And when an attendee comes through and says, I can't have the bread, we can essentially make them like a little avocado salad because we can give them everything except that.
Okay. Awesome.
Sometimes in our bake shop services, we are baking fresh right in the booth. So, that would be a thing where we do have to be very careful, but we have clients who choose to also augment that service by having a prepackaged gluten-free item. So that way the attendee that comes to the counter does have an option and they do have something, but we want to make sure to keep them safe.
Right. Yeah. No, I love that because you're still, even if it's prepackaged, because I was thinking about that when I was preparing for this and like on a trade show booth, even if you're doing the fresh stuff, you could have a prepackaged thing under the table.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Hilton just started. Hilton or DoubleTree just started that
with their cookies.
Yes, with their cookies. They've partnered with a company called Partake, which is perfect because they want everybody to partake in that. So it's a gluten-free, vegan chocolate chip cookie.
Nice. I love that.
So how did you get started in this?
Right, that was over 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I was a trade show manager.
Okay.
And my husband was the original founder of the business.
Okay.
And so his background was food and beverage.
Okay.
And so I like to say I'm an expert taster. It's my number one job. So we have a lot of sweet items. I skip salad and save room for dessert. But really just understanding this audience and what a special space it is. Trade show managers are managing a high stakes environment.
Right.
So when you have an opportunity with your customer, regardless of the company and the brand, that time is precious and it should be the most impactful and meaningful time amongst all the distractions on the trade show floor. 2 to 3 quality minutes with your customer can make a positive impression on your brand, that you're thoughtful, you're professional, and then you can educate on the data and product that you're there to support. So our goal is to increase the dwell time on the show floor.
And that was a new word that term. I like that though. You want them to stay in your booth.
Yeah, well, especially within pharma, it's hard to track all the prescribing habits and but return on that time, return on emotion, return on investment, and all those buzzwords. You have to spend time first with your customer and to listen. Okay. And many of our customers put the trade show traffic line of the food and beverage strategically positioned in the middle of the booth. And so as the lines wrap around, they do a great job engaging with their customers and talking while they're in line, but also the data is strategically placed so that the line is
so their trade show booth
is a large, most of our clients have very large booths, but then the lines wrap around to where they're learning about the data as they're there to receive their items.
Yeah.
So it's the
detail of that. That's awesome.
Details.
Yeah.
You want to ask?
So I was just going to say, so when done well, we've created a bit of a queue where then the reps are able to engage the people in there. But then, once they approach our counter and we give them their wonderful treat or beverage, they're kind of leaving on that note of like having something delicious to walk away from, but then they've also gotten information.
Right.
And then part of our fundamentals of training is also to make sure that we're mentioning the company name that we're serving for. Okay. And so they're getting that verbal brand recognition, all the while it's a sensory experience of visuals, sights, sounds, and smells at the same time. Yeah. But really just making that, again, that solid impact that they were being thoughtfully taken care of by that company.
Well, and I love the fact that you train for that because you can walk into any booth and you forget where you are. I mean, especially if the signage is not done well or whatever, like somebody's got food, I'm going to go over there and eat that food, and you forget where you are. And so the fact that you train your staff, because I'm going to say I don't typically see that, with a typical convention center staff person. Right. And so let's talk about the pricing of this, because some people might say, oh, well, I can't afford it. I'm just going to do the stuff that the convention center sells or the hotel sells. How do you work? And then let's talk about how do you work with them? Because I'm assuming there's corkage fees, right? So how do you work with your clients as well as the venues to make this happen?
Yeah. Well, I'd say first that the category that we're in is the experience business. And so, pricing it against the venue or the house is more of a commodity. And so, yes, ours is elevated, but for that justification and making the impression on the brand, understanding the audience, and providing an elevated experience, our pricing is based on unlimited servings for the day.
How do you know that?
We can forecast how many we serve per day. We want a great experience. The supplies are really insignificant in terms of, whether it's like coffee beans and milk, that's very insignificant. We're there for the day, and we want to make sure our clients can easily forecast their cost based on just a solid, great experience, and not based on a cup or not based on hours.
That's a novel idea.
It's a great, we want to be easy to forecast.
Right.
And so we work with clients on estimating, and we build in all the other fees into our proposal. And so a client doesn't have to make other calls, permissions, permits. That's all handled turnkey.
We handle all of those conversations directly with the venue. We've got, deep relationships with all of the venues that we go to. So we handle all of that coordination on behalf of our clients.
So I'm like McCormick Place. I'm just going to throw that out because you're in Chicago. So so it would be kind of like a Freeman calling the show and saying, I'm doing all this on behalf of you. Crêpes and Latte is doing that for the food and beverage side.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Takes that off my plate.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have those contacts. So we try to keep it as turnkey as possible. And we know who we need to contact, the time that we need to contact, the parameters for each venue, because we have all of that.
Right.
And we're there with great frequency at most venues. So as I mentioned, we're doing about 200 plus trade shows a year.
Wow.
With well over 3,000 services.
Wow. 3,000 services, meaning 3,000 different. Oh, wow.
So we're peak weeks where the logistics are in full swing, and we thrive on those. But one of the other unique things is on a show floor that we don't duplicate our offerings per company.
I thought that was amazing when you were telling me that. So they've got like 10 exhibitors on the same floor, just as an example, and they never allow the same food to be served in those 10 shows.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So our coffee's an exception because we name it coffee. So, but other than that, with food and beverage, we really want it to be unique and special for that company to be a differentiator on the show floor.
Right.
And so Amy manages that with the team on how we recommend and place holds until someone's decided. But that's a big differentiator between us and an on-site provider.
So how many recipes do you have?
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh, lots.
Hundreds. Hundreds. And we do try, just to use cappuccino as the example, yes, we might have multiple of our clients who offer cappuccino, but we differentiate that by the machine type, by the additional flavor. They'll have a special flavor that no one else will have on the floor, as an example. Same thing with some of the food items. There might be two clients that have crepes, but one has a Nutella crepe, another one has a strawberry and creme anglaise, for example.
Okay. Wow. I mean, just having that and holding them, so nobody gets the same one that's pretty amazing but unique. And I like the idea that it adds another level of experience for that guest coming into that show floor, and not having to they're going to go to the concessions at some point to probably eat, but having that experience. So give me a challenge that you've had from one of your clients, that was like, you're like, oh, what are we going to do? And then how did you solve that?
I'll have you think for just a moment. Let's say in general, all of our clients are high touch experience. And so whether something was difficult or not, every single client we have has very specific details that they want to address. And we work with our clients on an annual basis. So we're based essentially in Chicago, but all of our events are held all over the country. And so some of those best signature brand experiences travel with the client, with the show. And so once they have an idea, in many cases that is signature to their brand, and that's what they want to be known for, and it tells their story, and it goes to a circuit of shows for that company. And so that's really good experience. Can you think of anyone that came to mind?
Well, I mean, if they can bring us in as early in the process as possible, it gives us time to, test things in the office. We have a kitchen where we test things. I guess most recently one I can think of, one of the ways that clients like to customize their experiences through their brand colors, right? They want to bring the color in. So I had a client who wanted to do a very deep purple, and they wanted their smoothie to be very deep purple, which we can achieve that color, but it's going to leave attendees' mouth stained, right? So like, we had to adapt for that. And so we landed on a custom sticker on the clear cup and those color sprinkles. So that way they're still going to have the delicious frozen coffee. It's going to have the brand colors brought in the sprinkles. We're not going to have the whole drink be something that people don't want to drink. So yeah. So, I mean, anything is possible, and we love to get creative, and we have a great team that we can do what we can to adapt to those things. Sometimes people want to have a food like in the shape of their logo. So we can adapt for that by putting a stencil on top of the brownie. So we can't make the brownie that shape, but we can make the brownie and put the stencil with your logo on top of it.
And I've seen cookies done like that.
Exactly. Yeah. There's amazing food printers now that we can print right on fondant and put it right on the cookie or the cupcake or the drink even.
Okay. I also think about one experience where we had a client that their medication went to an injectable format.
Okay.
And so we came up with one press paninis.
Okay.
So paninis are pressed. We had the display where you get to pick the menu, pick the items, go into the panini. We pressed them right there. And the backdrop that they had at true theatrics. Behind us was the Italian cafe of a built-out display with was it almost like a fountain or a statue that the line wrapped around, but you were immersed in this Italian experience with a pharma company while you were going to get your pressed panini in Italy and then get to work.
Nice.
And so it told their story. It was a very new mechanism for their medication.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
It's really fun to see how our exhibit house partners like build the booths or build our counters around our experiences. You know, in New Orleans, one of our most popular services, beignets. And so we had a whole little beignet cafe one year and it's so fun to see it come to life, you know. They're really good about making sure that we have what we need and then just building around that little niche booth.
Okay. So, and on a couple of things that come to mind when you say that. So you're based in Chicago and you're going to New Orleans.
Sure.
You told me in advance that you buy all of your ingredients when you get on site.
The perishables.
The perishable items we do, yes.
So like you're making fresh beignets in the booth?
Yeah.
So you have an oven and everything there?
So those are actually deep fried. So beignets are a great example. We buy our batter from Cafe du Monde.
Okay.
But yeah, we deep fry right on the show floor. I mean, I can't say it's exactly like what they do at Cafe du Monde, but it's the same batter. And we buy it from them and
All right. So, and just because of that conversation we just left after mine was I mentioned sustainability, but she was talking about sustainability. So you're not shipping in that, you're saving a shipping fee of that food.
Yeah. So we're shipping in the equipment.
Right.
Yeah. And then and then dry goods. And then so when we go there locally, we pick up the local perishables that are fresh.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we talk to our clients about a California strawberry shortcake, we're using California strawberries.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And what was the other question that popped into my head when you were talking about that? I forgot my question. But okay, so you're doing beignets, but the convention center in New Orleans probably serves beignets. So talk about, I know you said it was the service thing. So how do you, I'm going to say this term, and it's probably not the way to say it, but get around that. I mean, your experience.
So ours is certainly an experience. In that case, some of those menu offerings, such as that, the house, if they do provide it, it's on a tray or it's passed, it's coming out of the kitchen. And ours is everything that we do is an action station, fresh made in the booth with the counter provided. So you're seeing things very fresh made. We come in early prior to the show and start our baking and prep process so that there's never a lag time where we're out of anything. And then we keep up with the flow. And we've distinctly created menu offerings that differentiate from that on-site offer. Yeah. Definitely by experience, but largely by that menu as well.
Right.
Yeah. And, I think one of the important things to think about is the service we provide isn't necessarily just about the food item that we're giving the attendee. Right. It's about our team and our team that works year-round full-time as brand ambassadors. As much as we can, we have our team members, be able to work these shows, and they work with brands over and over again, and they have the experience to know how to talk to attendees. They know how to articulate the brand and how to articulate whatever message it is that they are there to communicate.
Okay.
Actually, that's a really good point too. Our team shines because they all enjoy people, and that customer service aspect is a large part of their job. So they're not just showing up for a shift. They're there to make eye contact, when eye contact these days is rare.
Right.
Right. And so to be in an environment of a really crowded space with so much digital going on and everyone with a phone in their hand is to make that, eye-to-eye contact, but then also to just have people that love people and love what they do. And we've hired restaurant GMs, we've hired musicians and actors and medical students, and an eclectic mix of professionals that are professional in the service industry.
Okay.
And so both full-time and part-time, but I think that eclectic mix has built out, I say, a community of people that want to serve other people. And that varies. They're just as diverse as the menu that we serve and the customers that we serve.
So with doing that many events, 200 a year, and are you having any staffing issues, like some of the venues that we're in? Are you, because of the level of service, your teams are staying with you, or do you have a lot of?
We have some peaks to that. So we have 40 full-time headquarter team members.
Okay.
Currently, we have 130 part-time team members.
Okay.
And so for us, our job is to make sure that our schedules align with their availability that changes per season.
Okay.
So someone, may be available 10 times this year, 20 times next year, and it ebbs and flows.
Okay.
But our best sense of recruitment is team members that we've already hired, and those that are also strong in the service industry that they know.
Okay.
And to build that out. What else was there? But our peak week back in June, our busiest week of the company history, we had events in 5 states overlapping.
Wow.
Over 80 services going on simultaneously.
Wow.
With 500 shifts of people in those different destinations, and probably easily 150,000 plus servings that were prepped for all the material supply purchases. And so for us, that's like a Super Bowl week.
Right.
That didn't come by accident. We planned 6 months out, methodically planned staffing, logistics, supplies, shipping, and the day that we left and packed up, our team packed up 2 hours plus before they anticipated being finished. And then our support team got on a shuttle bus to leave, and they were actually dancing and singing on the bus afterwards. I had never seen that before, but we did something right if they were leaving, after hours, and they were not fully done, but they were happy.
Right.
And so that's not fake happiness. That's like the sincere happiness of how the team feels when they work together, but what they do all day. And I will tell you, they were on their feet for 40 hours in 3 days. So there's no one that wasn't tired.
Right.
But the energy from each other is also magnetic.
Right.
And so the storytelling of customers that were surprised by something or also received that same gratitude and thankfulness was reciprocal both ways.
Okay.
And
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Those food experiences, our clients feel special and their guests feel special.
Right.
Because of whatever they selected for their brand.
Awesome.
And so for us, we just hear the stories of what's next and making sure that they all stay and relate back to their audience. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm going to try to pull these up so I can show everybody.
I love that picture.
I do
too. It's very cute. So let me see if I can do this and show you some pictures of their activations. Let's see. Share screen. Wonder if oh, there we go. Okay. So there's one activation. Oops, how do I do this? Okay. So
and if I could just make a little plug right here.
Yeah,
follow
please
us on
do.
Instagram, because there's great pictures that you can see on there too.
Okay. So this is, you're doing praline cupcakes.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So those are 1 ounce cupcakes.
Okay.
With some caramel buttercream frosting.
And
a little
then
praline
a little praline on top.
Yeah.
And so they're bite-sized pieces. They're made fresh right there.
You see it.
There we go. Okay, and they're made fresh in that easy bake oven?
Take them out of
It's a compact convection oven.
It's like a professional easy bake oven. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And then we actually have cooling racks up above, but it takes a very small footprint of space.
Okay.
And on the other side, we had cappuccino. And so this line right there, again, wonderful strategic position here, because as they were in the line, the sales team members were talking to them.
Okay.
They had coffee and a cupcake in both hands, and then all the data was supported, strong visuals right behind.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's see what else we have over here. Let's, how do I do this again? Stop share screen, and then we'll do it again. There's a gnat flying around me. Then here's another one. This says your churros.
Yeah.
Um,
Fresh baked churros. This is a great example of the team building
mhm.
a experience around our food service. So they made a little cafe sign that was behind us. And we were kind of like, it felt like you were walking up to a little street side cafe.
Okay.
Yeah. And that what you don't see is there was little cafe tables right in front, and they kind of like really sectioned off the booth to create this cafe experience.
That's so
It's
interesting.
very much a
Yeah.
cafe
Yeah.
in the middle of meeting rooms that were on the outskirts.
Yeah.
Their brand colors are red.
Right.
And so we selected a red machine,
Mhm.
and then the graphics on the churros are also their red, just to match the
So
brand.
Yeah.
I never had a booth this big to do this.
You do
So-
need some real estate.
Yeah, you need some real estate.
And
Yeah.
we invite you to be an expert taster at one of our next shows.
Yeah.
To go.
Yeah.
So, and I'm only bringing this name up because I saw them in there and I've worked with them before, but Zarnowski. So like you work with Zarnowski to
Mhm.
design this, and that means that trade show manager is really bringing you in way early.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's building that booth out
Mhm.
doesn't happen in a day. It's not a
Right.
pop-up booth that you
Mhm.
can go like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They-
many of our exhibit house partners we're working with them on their annual programs
Mhm.
Okay.
by brand
Okay.
and by audience and,
Mhm.
and all the dimensions and ship dates and,
Okay.
Yeah.
and everything that we need. So
And, okay, so I want to bring up the corkage fee. Because somebody is going to probably ask, well, you're bringing this in, a hotel or convention center is going to say, well, you can't do that. And I had that.
Actually, that's the most common question.
Yeah.
So for any new client, that's
Uh-huh.
the first question, because every show prospectus has the same language. And that
Okay.
is that you need to work with the on-site provider.
Okay.
And so those on-site providers are actually our partners, and we work with them on your behalf. There's
Okay.
never a need for a client to call and ask permission. We're
Okay.
there with great frequency. And then all venues charge, whether it's a waiver fee, a
Okay.
corkage fee, or a buyout fee. It's
Okay.
all one and the same, but it supports their revenue model because they do have food offerings. They are the main
Right.
supplier.
Yep.
And so for us to support a client,
Mm-hmm.
it should also still support their revenue model. And so we pay a fee that we work with them on. We
Okay.
include that in our proposal.
Okay.
It's not a negotiated fee, but it's that respectful courtesy of, we also want to make sure you have a great experience. and
Right.
It doesn't take away from
Okay. So
the
there's no getting
revenue
away
model.
from
There
it.
is no getting away from that. And then sometimes we'll order things like milk or water or ice, things that are
Mhm.
heavy through them to additionally support their revenue model.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
some of the heaviest things that they stock there
Right.
that they could deliver in the morning to us. But
Yeah.
those partnership and relationships that we've had for 20 years are also another source of referrals for us.
Oh, wow.
Because
Okay.
oftentimes if you have a citywide show or a very
Mhm.
large show,
They don't probably have the
frequently-
capacity to do
well,
it.
frequently some clients can have a very special request, a
Mm-hmm.
very high touch request. And they say, we don't have the capacity to handle this, and they refer it to us. And they know and how we
Right.
work together.
Right.
So for a show organizer,
Mhm.
the show meetings, the banquets,
Mhm.
the breakouts are their main.
The box lunches.
Yeah, the box
Yeah.
lunches, all that would just go. That's their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Right.
And so within that, we've just elevated the experience on the show floor.
Okay.
And it's not for all clients on the show floor, but for a handful of
Right.
a few
Right.
that want to stand out with their audience. That's what we take care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that referral basis, the relationship, how we communicate,
Mhm.
we have everything very organized and templated with
Okay.
those relationships.
Awesome.
And in addition to the necessary fees,
Right.
we have obviously our COIs, any waivers that we need to sign.
Uh-huh.
All of our staff is ServSafe certified. And if there's any specialty permits that are needed, we handle all of that as well. There's some
Mhm.
cities where we do have to obtain a permit from the city, which we do. We handle all of that in the
Okay.
background. Las Vegas, for example, we have our team members that are Las Vegas food handler certified, if
Mhm.
that's the right phrase.
Yeah.
So yeah, we make sure we cover all of that. So everyone has exact certifications that they need.
And we never come in a venue unannounced. So
No.
we're always having conversations in advance
Okay.
with what we know they need and making sure if there's something else they need from certifications that we provide that to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those conversations are had on the individual client basis with ourselves, and the show organizer just needs to know they're compliant. So
Okay.
again, we've worked with most show organizers as well,
Okay.
and so
All right.
we follow the rules.
Follow the rules.
we do.
What? You don't break the rules?
Yeah,
Come
we
on.
follow the rules, like we follow, yeah.
All right. And we're getting close to 30 minutes. We told those window guys.
Oh, yeah.
The Sunshine Act.
Mhm.
We didn't talk about this yet. all
No,
right?
we didn't.
Okay. So healthcare, event planners, whether trade show or managing events and things, have a certain amount of money that they are, and correct me if I'm just completely obliterating this, that are allowed to spend and give to a specific healthcare industry person, right? And so how do you, when you're doing that booth, and you're passing out all this food, how do you figure that out? I mean, and what is included in that fee or the cost of what I'm allowed to give, you're allowed to give me?
Sure.
Because it's considered
Yeah.
a gift,
Yeah.
right? That food is considered a gift.
Yeah.
So how do you calculate that?
Well, I mean, first, the Sunshine Act is interpreted from all different legal teams
Okay.
with their own discretion.
Of course
So
it is.
it's not a law, but that Sunshine Act and each legal team
Okay.
has determined. We've had plenty of conversations with legal to
Okay.
make sure that we're aligned and we have educated what's included.
Okay.
And so within our proposals,
Mhm.
we include
Yeah.
those you can go through the designations.
Oh, I was just going to
Categories,
say,
but
upon request, we include that as a line item on our proposal.
Okay.
We do the math. It's basically roughly based on the cost of the food item divided by the maximum number of servings that we can serve. Because
Okay.
we provide unlimited service for all of our shows, we base it on what we
our capacity.
our
Right.
capacity is. So we just provide that
And it does
information to
not
them.
include, there's categories it does not include.
Right, it doesn't include travel, it doesn't include the corkage, for example.
Okay.
And again, like if we.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
good thing for me as a planner to think about, that I don't have to include that, say, $3,000 corkage fee.
Right.
It's just the food, the cost of the food that you're, okay.
Yeah,
And so we have templated our proposals, so when
Okay.
someone asks for that, we put it in the right place and the definition of the formula.
Okay.
And so we worked with numerous legal teams to
Right.
make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I didn't.
no, that's okay.
No, exactly.
You basically
Yeah.
said it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because it's important, and especially I know there's a lot of young people coming into the industry now, and
Yeah.
for them they need to understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go and spend $50 per person on a thing.
No.
And you've been doing this long enough that I think you told me 100 items per hour or
Well,
something?
yeah, but either all of our services are built for volume service,
Okay.
but also everything falls under $10 an item.
Wow.
And so based on our capacity serve and our flow and our ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
we want to make sure it's modest.
Or
There's no plus plus.
No plus plus.
no,
There's no.
what? There's no plus 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 plus?
No.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how do you do that with unions? Okay, actually, that's a
Right,
good
that's-
question. How do you not get around the union? That's the wrong way.
Well.
In Union City, Chicago's a union city.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, in most cases, and again, I don't know the, intricacies of it, but in most cases, it's my understanding that what we pay as the waiver or corkage fee, a portion of that goes back to the staff.
Gotcha. Okay,
Mhm.
that makes
Speak to
sense.
the percentage,
Right,
but yes.
Right, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, none of us can do that.
Yeah.
So when you say an item is $9.95, that's inclusive of the gratuity and everything for your team?
It's inclusive of that formula for the Sunshine Act.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
those other categories that differ per city and transportation is not
Okay,
part
Yeah.
of the necessary needs to calculate.
okay. Oh,
So-
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you would think that it would be the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle. but
Yeah.
it's not.
No.
Well, you know your stuff.
We do. We do.
All right, I did not put a little banner up here, but I can make it really quickly. So tell everybody, actually what Nancy just typed in, well, that's a plus.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, Nancy, I think that's very true. I mean, because there's so many things to think about when you're planning an event. And somebody commented in a Facebook group recently that they were in Chicago at a property, and they were saying there was a different union on every floor, which I find that hard to believe. But probably not at the same time, so how do you manage all of those things? And the fact that you're turnkey and manage that for me is huge.
Yeah. And so truly we operate, say, like a hospitality agency. The clients that come to us are asking for suggestions and not just a literal request, as they come to us with their goals and objectives, a little bit about their audience. And then Amy and the team will share 3 to 5 options with some ballpark pricing to make sure that we're continue that discussion and make sure it's special and it hits their brand goals and budget.
Yeah.
So
well, and the brand goals, and so I mentioned today in my presentation, food and beverage is typically the most expensive thing. How do you know where you fall in line on that cost? Because I'm assuming the
We are
trade show.
definitely not.
You're
on a trade show program, on a trade show floor, ours is not one of the most expensive.
No, I'm sure. Yeah,
so we're probably far at the bottom.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because building the booth itself is really expensive. Okay, so I'm going to put up here, and I hope I just copied it. Connect with Hailey and Amy at crêpesalatte.com. Didn't need all the HTTP things in there, but that's okay. And then I will share with you all later too their LinkedIn profiles.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're
Awesome.
welcome.
Thank you. This was fun. Thank you for the time today.
You're welcome. All right, actually, one question that I ask everybody, and it's easy. Well, I say it's easy, but because I talk about on the show safety, sustainability, and inclusion. So how would you answer that question? What does a safe, sustainable, and inclusive food and beverage look like to you?
That's a great question. Well, I think, we already talked about safety. Our team is all Serve Safe certified. We work within a very small footprint, but we do everything within that footprint. So we refrigerate items. We have our sanitation all in the booth. So we do require a little bit of storage, but it's for good reasons. Sustainability is something that we talk about all the time. You mentioned and showed some pictures in your presentation, so thank you. We've moved to 90% of our services we use either bamboo items or cups made of corn. So we've really made a big transition in our vessels. Additionally, because all of our services are unlimited and essentially made to order, it reduces waste because we're not making 1,000 pieces when we're only going to serve 600. So if we make what we need, and then we can either donate or take back home with us the rest of it. And then inclusion, we really try to be mindful to be able to modify whatever the item is to the best of our ability within that 6-foot footprint for whatever the attendee in front of us is asking for.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any other additional thoughts on
that?
Great.
Yeah, I mean, and all those things play into each other, and it plays into that experience because you never know what somebody's gonna, sustainability wise or whatever, inclusion wise or safety wise, really ask the questions. And if your staff is trained on Serve Safe and they understand that they can answer the questions.
Yeah, exactly.
So, cool. Was there anything that you want to tell everybody here that you haven't touched on that we haven't asked? Because I did like it, and just on the sustainability portion too, they have a really good fact sheet that they provided me on things that they've done corporate wise, the recycling program in the office, not printing. It was something about paper.
Oh, we've reduced our paper use in the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And a couple of other
baby
things.
steps, but it's important things that we're doing.
It is baby steps. And the speaker after me was talking about that too. You can't do everything at one time.
Right.
Do one step at a time.
Yeah.
And when you're traveling across the country, it's hard to figure out how to do that, but I think you're taking the right steps. So.
Well, I think with that, there's always just refinement. So if we're
Right.
always looking to
I
improve
like that
upon
word,
things,
refinement. Yeah.
right? So even coming to a show like this or hearing your presentation or the next one, it always keeping that open mind to say, this is what we do today. And when we haven't thought about another angle or another adaptation, wanting to always integrate more.
Yeah.
So,
And we want to be collaborative too.
Yeah.
It's not just about like, here's the things that we offer. We want to hear back from our clients is that, what they want, what they need. And we want to work with them to create the experience, not just provide a menu.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies. And
Thank
here is
you.
their, I'm going to take all that other stuff out of there real quick. their website address again, so you can reach out to them. And we will, hopefully I'll see you
Yeah,
at some show
hope
floor.
so.
I don't do any
Yeah.
healthcare ones, but you never know,
You
right?
have to come out and check one out.
Exactly, yeah. So everybody, thank you for listening. And Nancy, always great to see you and chat with you. And until next time, stay safe and eat well. And I will be back in the office next week. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks.